press that? Okay, so it looks like the recording has started. Is everybody able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you, everybody. So this is the presentation that we will be presenting to the serious CSPs for their onboarding so that they get familiarity with not only the Inscape platform, but the other value-added tools and features that are within that. So what I do is I go through my presentation here. I introduce myself as their client success advisor, let them know that I'm here to make sure that they're going to get the best experience with their Microsoft 365 as well as their Azure investments, and make sure that they're taking advantage of the full suite of value-added message ops software and services. So I'm their promise keeper. I'm their go-between, so they could, reach out to me with, questions, and either I'll answer them or direct them to the right person or have them open up a support ticket if it's a technical nature. And of course, we'll tweak the presentation depending on whether they're being onboarded solely for Office 365 CSP versus Azure CSP or for both. So here's the support information that I provide for them. And of course, everything that I do present to the clients does get recapped in an email after the call. So if they want to kick the tires, they can certainly go ahead and review links and such after the call. So here's the ways in which they can access our support. They can dial in for the 877 number. One is for technical support, option 2 is for sales, and then I provide them here on screen the email address to open up a support ticket, which at this juncture is still support@championsg.com. And then I reiterate or like to hammer home, definitely don't be shy. Reach out to me at my personal email address here, and I'll be glad to answer any questions, show you anything, review anything, or point you to the appropriate person if it's a new question that I don't know the answer to. Also, I provide the billing email address, so should they have a very specific billing inquiry, which I may not know the answer to, I do provide that information here as well. In conjunction with the support, I like to let them know who can open up a ticket, meaning the global administrator, so that's very clear. I let them know what kind of things that the CSP help desk can cover versus what would be out of scope. So this way that, is clear to any new serious people so that, nobody's getting upset if they try to open a ticket and they're not the GA. So I also share with them the entitlements document that really very well outlines the support entitlements and what's covered, what's not covered, and who can open up a ticket. Any comments, questions, concerns so far? Okay, so after I go through the support and then outline what's covered by support and help desk, I then go through and just give them a high level of what is included in Inscape, which is our one-of-a-kind Microsoft 365 and Azure value-added services that has everything all under one roof. So this is going to be their single pane of glass from doing everything from license management, assigning licenses, their account info. So they'll be able to see a financial snapshot where they can see their CSP invoice trend, access invoices, download invoice details, they'll have access to that where they can have a plethora of reporting things to look at, as well as cost management, security information, and much, much more. Onboarding, offboarding. So I go through all of these things with them on the call at a high level, and then of course, should we need to revisit and take a deeper dive into any of the tiles in Inscape, I definitely circle back and schedule those. But we go over everything that's included here. There are some things that are optional that would incur a separate cost outside of what their CSP spend is, and we are very transparent about that. That is the training site, which has the 2,500 snackable training videos. And then if they were looking to integrate with ADP Workforce Now, that isn't like an out-of-the-box solution. That is something customized that we can do for them. And of course, that would be an optional cost associated with that. So at current state, this is what the current iteration of the Inscape platform looks like. So these are all of the tiles that your CSPs will have access to. If they're an Azure CSP, the tiles I would suggest, to look at would be the Azure cost review, Azure recommendations, as well as looking at things like their account info, which will show you spend for Azure as well as Office 365. If they're an Office 365 CSP, definitely The Microsoft licenses, the Microsoft Sign licenses, and account info are the big three that I would really hammer home with them. So this way they can come in here and make their changes on the fly and know that, see the, benefits of being on, monthly billing as opposed to annual billing, so we can show them their assign and see how quickly they can, delete licenses or get rid of licenses, and how that will help with their cost optimization. So once I show them that and also let them know the other benefits of being a CSP, including, our access to our blogs and our newsletters and our events, I take the tour and I, show them the platform, which I'll get to momentarily. But in the presentation as well, I'll also tell them that, they can reach out to me about, ADP Workforce, our Microsoft Teams services, Azure Anomaly, backup, all of these things listed here. So this way, even if I don't dive deep into that, they're aware of the other things that we have, in-house that we can do to help them. And then, of course, to really have great communication with them, I also offer to connect with them via Teams, so they can reach out and ping me in real time if they have a question, as opposed to sending an email. Any comments, questions, or concerns before I jump into the Inscape platform? Okay. So with that, this is the Inscape platform for those of you that haven't seen it. So I would be showing the clients the platform and the particular tiles that are associated with Office 365 or Azure, depending upon what specifically they're being onboarded for. It is leveraging Azure's Active Directory and single sign-on, so I'm leveraging my Microsoft account here. The little waffle icon up here will allow your customer to come and navigate around the site. The little gear icon I like to point out is their global access control. So here's where they can come in and actually determine what kind of access a particular user within their organization has. You may not want them to have access to every single tile. So here's where they could come in and grant them very specific role-based access. So whether they want them to have Azure spending, or perhaps they want them to have Microsoft licenses, it's just with the check of a button and then typing in that person's email address, and then that will give them the necessary access to whatever tiles they need. Another thing I like to point out to their advantage as far as cost savings is concerned, and us, being aware of that for them, is this little alert icon at the top. This is going to alert our clients to any unassigned licenses. So in case they have any unassigned licenses, I like to bring this out because they're spending money for this and they're sitting in their tenant. As you can see, monthly spend is $18 on this, and nobody's using it. So I'd like to bring this up for them to keep an eye on, so then they could go and unassign those licenses and save themselves a couple of bucks, or if they do need them, to go ahead and assign them. A nice little feature here. Comments or questions before I move on?
Will you be doing this with their actual data in the
No, I don't have access to their actual data, so this will be, I'll be showing them our demo sites, but while I'm conducting this, I'll be having them sign into their environment so that they can, drive during the presentation as well.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Microsoft licenses. So this is where the customers will now come and they can make their adds, changes, or removals pretty much in real time. So once this is finished in rendering, you can see in our demo account here, all of our existing accounts. If there are licenses that are available to be assigned, we point that out. So we say that there's 2 here, and I could click the assign button to immediately go and assign those. If I needed to edit this particular license SKU, I can click on the blue name, and that will allow you to edit any license. So whether you need to increase the quantity, decrease the quantity, or suspend the license, you can. So here I can change the quantity either by typing or using the up-down arrows. Or if they no longer needed a license for whatever the reason, if they toggle the active button to the left to off, that will deactivate the subscription. By doing so, that stops billing immediately. However, Microsoft determines how long the license sits in there before it falls off. So that's up to Microsoft. But once they deactivate a license, the billing stops on that immediately. And that's another point I like to make during these demonstrations. So you can edit your Office 365 licenses, the same thing for your Azure subscriptions. And then if they had any software subscriptions, they would come and manage that here. Another thing I like to hammer home for them too is just to be cognizant of what they have in their tenant. In terms of, I see a lot of people adding duplicate subscriptions as opposed to increasing the quantity. So if they wanted more, as an example of the Office 365 E3, you would simply come in here, click to edit that, and increase the quantity versus going to shop licenses, which is how you would procure a brand new subscription. So just like to point that out. So the shop licenses is where they would go now to procure a brand new license. The client will also have availability of these filters. So if they wanted to search for a non-Office 365 license, maybe they're looking for an Azure license, or maybe they're looking for a trial, they can filter by, any of these nomenclatures here to search what they're looking for. Or they can type in the search feature here and type in what they're looking for. And here, for example, I'm looking for a Microsoft E3. Select that, and you'll see on the right-hand side that we have a description of what's included, the EMS, Windows 10, and all of that fun stuff. You see the price listed and the ID that's generated from Microsoft. As you increase the number or the quantity, you see the price goes up. As you decrease the quantity, the price goes down. So the system does the math for them. Really easy. I'd click next, and the customer is then taken to the confirmation screen here, where they could determine, yes, I'm okay with the quantity, I'm okay with the price. Select the terms and conditions, hit submit, and then that brand new subscription would then be in their tenant within a couple of minutes for them to then go ahead and assign. Under settings, here's where they can change their notifications. So this is another cool thing I like to show. So if somebody makes a change to the license quantity in their tenant, they could add additional email addresses here, so they'll get notified if so-and-so, added 4 E3s, or so-and-so decreased, AD by 4. You can have up to 5 people receive change notifications, which is pretty cool. Also, under user roles, I like to point out, again, here is where you can add a particular user to this specific tile. So that just with a click of a button, typing in the email address, hitting add, and then that person would then have access to the Microsoft licensing tile. Comments or questions? Okay, so that's where they'll go to be managing their Office 365 licenses if they're being onboarded for Office 365. To assign those licenses, they would use the assign tile. So here we like to graphically point out, again, this is to really, promote how monthly billing is really great. They can see what licenses are available to be assigned, what's available, what is over assigned. So here in red, you can see there's a total of 2 and we need 1. So you can see anything that's, over assigned. So this is graphically in their face so they can see exactly what's available. It also, again, helps to circumvent the issue of people having duplicate subscriptions. So I really like to spend a decent amount of time just, showing them this and how they can leverage that. As I scroll down the assign page, you can export this page as a CSV. I can export all the pages. The data that you see here in our demo tenant is pulling from our Active Directory, so you can see the user, the location, the licenses. Now, if I needed to update Alexander's information, as an example, I would click Edit, and that will allow me to update his information. So here's where I can, update his email address. I can use the radio button and elevate his permissions if need be, or if he needed to be deleted for whatever the reasons, I would click Delete User. Really simple to do. If I needed to assign a license, you go to Manage Licenses, and this is where they'd come and assign any available licenses. So you can see clearly what's available versus what's not available. If I wanted to assign an Active Directory Premium 2 to Alex, you see it currently says 2. Once I check it off, it goes down to 1. And then under service plans, that will tell you if there's any add-ons associated with that license. So you or they, as the administrator for their account, could come in here and determine what is rolled out with that particular license or SKU, just with the click of a button here. So if I didn't want him to have cloud app security, I could deselect that, hit save, and then he would be assigned that license. Comments or questions at this time? Another
Hey, Melissa, I joined, by the way.
Hi, Stace.
I don't know why how it's even possible that I sent an invite for Wednesday, but yet it's on everybody's calendar for today. I have no idea, but I'm
Oh,
here.
oh, okay. Yeah, no, I was just showing, I just finished showing Microsoft licenses and assign, was just gonna, I know we're short on time here, but was gonna show them what we show with the account info area here and the financial snapshot. Because I know we have our
Perfect.
webinar R2, but here is our financial snapshot. Guys, this is another tool that we found that our message ops CSPs have really come to love and use on a daily basis. Here's where they could come and see a summary by month, cost by service. It's broken down services by month, and this is all backed by Power BI, so they can, change the focus. You could change, get more options here. You can filter it however they want to filter it and see what their, spend is by month on whether it's Inkscape or Office 365 or Azure. If I click the Microsoft tab, here's where they can see their costs by subscription. So this is a great tool for them to leverage to give them headlights into what their spend is and what their, forecasted invoices may be. So you can see, what their spend is on Azure Active Directory versus what their spend is for Office 365 E3, so on and so forth. As well, they can see it total cost by month. And the same thing for their Azure licenses. So if we've got an Azure customer and they're using Azure, here's where they can see their Azure spend, their cost by month now. This is not their invoice, but this will give them a little bit of insight into what their spend is in case they, see anything that looks funny. They could come in here and take a look and see what their cost is by product, so they can see what they're spending for blob storage versus a virtual machine, et cetera, et cetera. You could see how we have that graphically listed there, their total cost by month, as well as they can look at the line chart down here and see what their charge date is, their end date is, what the bandwidth is, and the meter description. So they can see that for their Azure licenses, as well as if they had reservation instances. I don't have a reservation instance, but here's where they'd be able to see things like their total cost by month, the cost by product for that, as well as if they had any spend for software or anything procured in the marketplace. So just like to show that to them so that they can, have a resource to go to if they want to see what's going on in terms of their Azure spend specifically. Also within the account info area is the PDF invoice history. So if they're looking for an invoice because it went to spam or clutter, they can absolutely come into the platform and grab their invoice here and simply click download, and they will get their invoice once they start getting billed from Sirius. Their billing information. This is not tied into a credit card processing system, but they can come in here and update things like their billing address. They can also add up to 5 additional email addresses with the click of this little plus sign to receive the emailed invoices. So if you needed to add somebody, it's just a click of a button, typing in, their email address, hitting save, and then whoever's listed here would then receive would receive the emails of the invoices as well. So really simple stuff. I like to spend a lot of time in these 3 tiles in particular for the Office 365 CSPs. And then of course, tailor it a little bit differently for those who are going to be onboarded for Azure. So if we are just onboarding a particular client for Azure, then I would spend time in Manage, where they can see their cost management within Inkscape Manage. Azure recommendations, which will provide them performance recommendations, security posture improvement recommendations, and then of course, Azure cost review. But the first place I would start with the Azure clients would be Inkscape Manage, where I'm going to log in right now. And then they could come in here and take a look at their cost management piece. So here you can see things, what's unassigned versus, so that they can, save money on that. You could see inactive and active users. So if people are inactive at 30, 90 days, they may want to remove the licensing for that. And here you can see your assigned license cost by filter. So here you can, filter by country, department, office location. So if I do by department, I could put in a particular department. Here you can see what, this particular, development department is spending for these licenses, what the quantity is, what the cost is, etc. So there's also a bunch of reporting in here as well that I would point out, but the manage area would be a great place to start as far, cost management and all of that fun stuff. Any questions? Robin, was there anything you specifically wanted me to highlight on the call this afternoon, or Stacy?
No, I think you did a great job of giving a quick overview. Normally these calls are scheduled for an hour, I believe, but under pressure from the customer, you probably could do it in 30 minutes, but we do ask for clients for an hour of their time to allow questions and answers. I just wanted to let everybody know that.
Yep, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
No, I appreciate that. And of course, if anybody needs to see anything again or wants a deeper dive, definitely don't be shy. Reach out to myself or Alexander, and we'd be happy to hop on another call and really walk you through all of the great features and tools, even just within the Inscape Manage portion of the platform.
Yeah, well, I would like to go deeper on it for my own edification, but do you know how many words a minute the average person speaks, Melissa?
No, not offhand.
It's something like 36 or 40. You know how many words a person can understand in a minute?
No.
400.
Whoa.
So just keep up the good work. That's all. I like it when it's crisp. I like it when it moves fast.
Melissa, can you turn off recording?
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Alan.